Hi boys and girls, welcome to our October project for Halloween called Witch Witch. We're going to make 2 or 3 witches and I'm going to show you different ways to do their hair and hats and faces, and then you can have some fun at home experimenting with some of the things that you may have collected in some of the walks around your neighborhood. The first thing we're going to do is take a paper plate, small size will work better for this, and we're going to punch a hole. This is going to be for the string. You're going to want to take some of this curling ribbon and make a little bit of a hanger with it. So I'm just going to take this, put it through the hole. Once we get a lot of this done, it would be much harder to find a hole. So that's why we're kind of doing this now. And putting this together. This makes us understand where the top of our witch's head is going to be also, so that kind of twofold. So the first one, I'm going to move my scarf out so I don't paint it. The first thing we're going to do is going to take some regular green tempera paint, shake it up really well, and then pour it in a container. And instead of using the regular brushes that we've done before, I'm going to use a sponge and green paint. So you're just going to start blotting. You want to finish the entire plate. You can go off the edge if you want. You'll notice that there will be some white to the plate showing, and that's okay too. When you are all done and this is dry, if you decide that you want to go back and put some more paint in, that's all right too. And you're just going to keep going until it's all finished. You'll notice that when you paint with a sponge, it has little blotches on there and little peaks on there, so it looks like it would be bumpy if you were to touch it. It doesn't dry bumpy necessarily, but it looks like it's bumpy, and that's not a bad idea because her skin isn't going to be perfectly smooth. So we'll put that aside to dry. When it is finished, this is what it would look like, and you see there's some white in here. You can go back and cover that up if you want, or you can leave it alone like that. I'll cover a little bit just to make, especially the bottom, make it a little bit more green. Part of this is going to be covered by her hair and her face and her hat, so it isn't as important as if this were just totally going to be her face. So we'll put that over there to dry. This is the witch I painted. The second witch that we're going to do is one with tissue paper, and we've done that before where we've taken tissue paper and glue stick and things. We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to punch the hole. We'll add the string later. This time we're going to do 2 different ways. The first way we're going to do is to take a mixture of glue and water. It's not as easy to see this, but you can see that your plate is shiny and you can tell that it's wet. So we'll do that, and I have green and purple tissue paper that actually have pieces of glitter in them, and that looks really, really interesting. So I'm going to use some of that. There's not a right or wrong side. The glitter is on both sides of this paper. And it is not craft paper, so the color won't bleed, but I still like putting a little coating of the glue on top of it to seal it, just to make sure. The last thing you would want is a project to start getting messy after you've spent a lot of time. So after you've put a few sheets down, you can take your brush again and brush some more glue on top of it and spread it around. It kind of wants to puddle a little bit because it's much more runny than a glue stick would be. And press them down there. And you would finish this up using the tissue paper. But I'm going to show you the second part on this same little witch. You can also take the glue stick and use the glue stick for this. The glue stick is blue, so it's going to be easier for you to see where we're putting it, especially for the younger ones. You spread it around. You want to put pretty much of it. The fun part about using a glue stick is I can go like this and dab my piece of tissue paper, and it just sticks to the glue stick, and I only get one piece out. If I did this with the Elmer's glue, because it's so thick and runny and watery kind of things, it would pick up more pieces than I needed, and I don't want that. This is a big double one. So you would continue to finish doing this, and now I'm running out of glue sticks, so I would come back and put some more just to make sure that we have enough. And here's another big area over here. And you go and you continue going until it's all finished and all covered with the tissue paper. When that's done, I'm going to put one more, and then I'll show you how we're going to finish this one up again too. When you are all covered with the glue stick, or the paper plate is, then you're going to do the same thing. You're still going to paint over it just to seal the tissue paper. It helps because sometimes there's some loose ends on the tissue paper and you don't want them to start peeling off. This is one of the ones I had made earlier, and you see how some of the paper is out on the edges. When this is completely dry, you can just go and cut those pieces off. So we've got a few heads or faces drying here, but we can still go on to the next part. We've got our heads done, and the next thing that we want to do is we want to start with the hair. One of the kinds of hair is this one, which is made with artificial leaves that I got at a dollar store. And I'm going to glue them onto a piece of construction paper. The leaves are fabric, so they don't glue really well together, and that's why we're going to put them on a background of orange paper. To do that, you're going to take a full sheet of construction paper, 9 by 12, fold it in half, and in half again, and then with your scissors, you're going to cut from this corner all the way to the other corner. When you get finished with that, you're going to end up having pieces that are rectangles. And if you put them on your witch, they look like puppy dog ears. And that's okay too. You could probably make a puppy dog if you wanted to. So I'm going to take one of them now, and I'm going to start with putting glue stick on, and just get this out of the way here, and getting our leaves. When I was shopping for leaves, I found yellow and green and orange ones at the dollar store, but I also found several solid greens and different sizes. And I didn't want to have too much green on my project, but the green might work well if you wanted a nose to be green, because your skin is green for some of these. So you're going to start putting the glue stick down at the bottom, and you're going to start with your bigger leaves that you can put on here. And then, let's see, we'll take a handful of different kinds. Start with some of the big red and orange ones on the bottom, and you can overlap them. You want to really press rather hard on this because it's fabric, like I said, and fabric doesn't take to glue stick really well. There's a front and a back side to the leaves, but you wouldn't notice the difference, but it does give you a little bit of difference in color. So you could use both of them. I'm going to take this all the way to the top and finish this one. So now I have one side of hair that's made totally with the colored leaves. And that's kind of what I had over here. But you notice the difference. One has a lot more red in it than the other one. And it's up to you. It's a little empty here, so maybe I'm just going to take and put on another leaf. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the glue on the leaf. And that's fine too. Press that down. So this piece of hair is done. That's one of the samples. We won't make two of them because I have some other types of hair that we're going to do, and we need to take the time to do that too. So I'll move this aside. As I said, that's the only one that really needs that orange triangle that we had. Otherwise, you can just make the hair by itself. The second kind of hair we're going to make will be these nice strips. And we've cut paper like that before, and we've done different projects with it. And what I did is I took those Halloween colors that we talked about, orange and green and purple. I put a little bit of red in there. There's a couple shades of green. And what you can do to make the hair is you can fold your paper back and forth and back and forth. It doesn't have to be the same size. It doesn't have to be perfectly even because our hair isn't. And then when you do that, you get bouncy, like bouncy legs. Sometimes we've done that too, made bouncy legs on projects. And I'll do that back and forth. This may not be as easy for the littlest children, but moms and dads or brothers and sisters, you could certainly help them. And I'll show you something simple that the little ones can do too. This one I'm making a little bit wider, and that's okay because it gives you a variety of your hair. Some pieces can be a little bit longer than others. And then, as I said, for the youngsters who have a little bit of difficulty folding, everybody can take a piece of paper and crunch it up. So you could take it and crunch it. You don't leave it like this, but you kind of pull it out, and it looks like wrinkly hair, kind of like ours looks in the morning. And then I want to do another one. I think I'm going to take a red, and I'm going to crunch up a red one too. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a good number. And what I want to do is I want to take the tops of my hair, and I'm going to put them together, and I want to spread them out a little bit to look like hair. And I'll put another one, and I'll put my red crunchy one on top. And that's looking pretty good too. And what I'm going to do for this, you could try to glue each one, but it's just easier and it's stronger to staple them together. So now I have a second piece of hair. This one is a little bit longer, and it all depends about the length that you use for your project. So going back to one of the ones that we were just working on, this could be one side of our witch, and then this could be the other side. And if you don't want to do them different, that's fine. This was just an easy way to show them to you. You can just take one and make one with the paper strips or one with the leaves. So we'll move this aside. That was type number 2. The next one is one I find to be a lot of fun. I like making paper chains, and I'm sure a lot of the boys and girls here have done this in the past. Some of the younger ones may not have done this, but it's a fun thing to learn how to do. Sometimes people put them on holiday trees. Sometimes you make all white ones and you make ghost face on them, or you make all orange and they're pumpkins. So you can do lots of things with them. And you want to make a whole bunch of them because this is going to hang for hair on the side of one of our witches also. I started this because it takes a while to get a lot of these made, but I will show you how to do those. I cut some of the strips in smaller pieces, and you're going to take your strip and you're going to put a lot of glue, maybe the bottom inch, and take it and fold it up and really squeeze it. The younger children like doing things with glue sticks, so they would be really good at the gluing. Maybe the older ones will have to help make it in the circle. Now you can put this through here, put some more glue. A real important part is the squeezing it to keep the glue touching so that it dries. When I made the first ones, they were falling apart, and that was because I didn't squeeze them long enough. Some I made different widths, so this is a skinnier piece of hair. And I know the little ones have lots of strength, so I'm sure they could really squeeze these things. And you can go in, and I'm going to put a second piece inside one of the other ones too. So it's going to be different. I'm going to put 2 inside this green one. And what that does is it makes some of our hair look thicker and some of it look thinner. And squeeze that up. So I'll just continue going and going. Oops, see what I'm saying? It's popping out. So I got to really squeeze it. I might have to come back and put some more glue on it. So now I'm getting an interesting type of circle. And I would, or chain actually, I would just keep going and going and going, and pretty soon I end up with something that's long like this. I took one of them and flattened them because that's what I would do to staple this on to the head. And the reason we would staple it is a little heavy, and if I just try glue stick on there, the glue stick may not hold it, so we're going to staple that. We're moving right along, so we have done the feathers, we've done the chains, we've done the crinkly things, and now we're going to go on to the last one, or second to last really, is something that I discovered. I realized that most of my newspaper bags lately have been either purple or orange. And I thought, what a way to teach you how to braid in case you don't know how to do it, and some people will. It's a very fun thing to learn how to do. Lots of times there's projects in school that you want to use to braid and make it stronger, or even at home you take some rope and you want to make it stronger, so you braid it, or you want to braid your hair even. What you need are 3 bags, and I'm going to put this facing you, so my right is your left. The important thing is to realize that it's always the outside going over the inside. So it's the right side over the middle, then the left side, then the right, then the left, and right, like a march, and left, and right, and left, and I'm getting close to the end, and I can't do it again, so I'm going to just stretch this a little bit. If I were to let go of this, it's going to fall apart and just come loose. So I'm going to take some ribbon and I'm going to tie a knot at the bottom, much like girls would do for their ponytails and things. If you're not happy with the bottoms being raggedy, you could trim them. But now this is a whole different effect. It's got some purple and orange in there. And it even has a little bit of black from the printing, and that makes it rather interesting too. Now we have yet another type of hair, and we can put it up against with this one again. So you have choices, lots of choices to decide how you want to put these things together. So we have done the hair and the things, and now what we need to do is to start on the face. And we have to do the face before we do the hats, because we need to know where our eyes are going to be so the hats don't cover them over. What we're going to do is start with one of the dry ones from before. And whenever you want to do a face, I always tell the boys and girls, you start with your nose, because that's in the middle of your face, and that's going to show you where everything else should go. So for this one, I'm going to make an interesting kind of nose that I haven't done yet. I did it on one of the sample ones. So I'm going to take my glue stick, and I made a loop, and I'm going to make the circle, but instead of keeping it like a circle, I'm going to do something like with Ernie and Bert. I'm just going to squeeze it so it looks almost like an oval. And now I can put glue stick on that, put a lot of it because I really want it to stick. And I'm going to eyeball the middle of my plate and press down the nose. So the middle of my ring will be where my nose is going to be. You notice that your eyes are at the top of your nose. So that's the next thing that we're going to do. In looking around, I found some alphabet letter blocks. That's what I used on this witch with the letter A's. And I could glue them on here, that way, or I could turn them upside down, and I could put something else inside. And I think I'm going to use these upside down. So that's looking good for the time being. And my question would be, what should I put in there? I have pom-poms, so I found white ones. That looks okay. Nothing too exciting. Then I found red ones, and that might make our witch look a little scary. And then, did I find any? I found blue. Blue doesn't look too exciting on our project because we don't have blue anywhere. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to use the red ones. And for this project, the glue stick will not hold the plastic very well or the pom-poms very well. So I'm going to use back with the Elmer's glue. I'm going to fill our little tray here with enough glue, like a little pond. I'm going to put the pom-pom in there. And then I need to move the eyeballs away. And on my face, I need to put a big circle where each of those white plastic pieces are going to go. Again, I'm not using glue stick because the plastic doesn't want to really hang on to the glue very well. So I'm going to put these on here. I'm going to put them at a little bit of an angle. I can't hold this up just yet, but you see how it's starting to come. Now our witch needs a mouth because she has to cackle and do different things like that too. We could make our mouth red, but then it's pretty much like her eyeballs. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to just take some black construction paper. And I had cut off some corners before, but now if I cut like this, I've made a shape that looks like a pretty good sized mouth. For this, I'm going to use a glue stick. And your mouth now is right underneath your nose, more or less. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on. And she's kind of smiling. She looks a little unusual, but she's smiling. So she's starting to look good. Oops, my eyeball is sliding. I can see the glue. So I won't pick it up again. I'll let that dry like I'm telling you to let it dry. She needs some eyebrows. And for eyebrows, you can do tissue paper. Not squares this time, but just a regular strip of tissue paper. And crunch it, fold it in half. And when you're squeezing it together, you get something that looks like it could serve as your eyebrow. Twist it up a little bit. For this, you're going to want to use the liquid glue also because you're just going to make a track and you're going to lay your tissue paper on there. So now I have this. It's squeezed down and we're set. So very carefully I'll show it to you so we're coming better. And we're going to let this young lady, this part, dry a little bit. We have lots of things on the drying rack here, and they're getting to be all different directions and different degrees of dryness here. So we'll see what's what. Right now comes probably the trickiest part of what you're going to do. It's going to be making the hat. And the hat has to be able to fit on the head in the right way. And you don't want it to be too big, otherwise it's going to fall over the eyes. And you don't want it to be too small because it's going to look like you put a drinking cup on your head. So what you're going to do is I like to take a piece of white paper first because I can see my drawing on it. And if you look at a witch's hat, it basically is a triangle and then another shape that looks like a feather, a smile to the one side, left and right. So it's a smiley. Those are my two favorite shapes when we get to making hats. So what I'm going to do on my paper here is I'm going to get my pencil and I'm going to make a nice smiley face that's going to touch the bottom of my paper. So you can see this not too well. I'll use a marker. You can always draw it with pencil and go back with marker. So that's my first smiley face. So I smile. Now I'm going to turn it this way and I'm going to make the second smiley face. It looks like, and when you turn it right side up, it looks somewhat like a feather. I'm going to take my little ghost, keep calling him ghost, my little witch here, put him up there, and I need to make the hat at least this tall. So I'm going to put his head up, so there's a part there, and put a dot, and one in the middle, and that's going to make the point to my triangle. So I'm going to take my marker, and I'm going to come to the top, and from that side, going to come to the top. And now I know that this hat is going to fit this witch. What I usually do then is instead of cutting it out twice, I'm just going to put this piece of paper inside this piece of paper and cut my pattern out right over the black paper. And then I don't have to draw it again. I've got everything right here. And I end up with a tracer so that in case I want to make another hat, I can make another hat. I really wanted to find some nice colored purple construction paper, but I didn't find anything that was a pretty purple or a nice dark purple. So I kind of am stuck with using black for this project. So here's our little witch's hat. I'm going to bend it a little bit to show us that it's the brim. And right now it doesn't look too exciting. I am going to decorate a little bit, and I think I'm going to use a skinny green strip about this long. I'm going to take some glue stick on here. And what we're doing is we're just making some color on our witch's hat. Black is a very heavy color, and we want to lighten it up a little bit. If you have stickers, you may want to put stickers on here. Maybe you want to draw some stars because the witches are out at night, or do a moon or a ghost maybe. That's up to you. Now I've got this ready. I've got my head ready. Okay. I've got another head almost ready. I think this is dry enough. I'll try to cut some of this paper off, and we'll see if it's going to work. It's a little wet still, and that makes it a little tricky to cut. So I could let that dry. I think now what we need to do is decide which hairs we're going to put on here. So I'm going to try a couple. I'll hold this one up. That looks pretty good. Here's this one. That looks pretty good too because it has the red and the green, and so does the face. Then there's this one. This doesn't look too thick, but I could put a second batch with it. And it really looks long. And I could always, if I wanted to, I could go back and crunch this up and make it smaller. So I think maybe what I'm going to do is use these two. I'm going to take my stapler, and I'm going to staple that orange triangle to the head. And then I'm going to take these hairs, and I'm going to staple those on here too. I'll do one, then the other. If I use just one, it doesn't look very full, and our witch won't look too good because her hair. Now, to see how the hair is hanging out, shouldn't have done that. I'm just going to fold it down a little bit, and we've got it coming all in the right direction now. That's what's great about this particular type of hair. You can do all sorts of things with it. Now you can take the other piece and just staple it. The hair is fighting me. Put the other piece on top and staple that down. Our girl's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to take the hat. I'm going to spread a lot of glue on this top part of the head of the witch, and I'm going to use glue stick. It will hold it better, and for the painted one, it isn't going to make the paint get wet and run all over. That's one thing about tempera paint. You can get messy with it, and we don't really want to do that. We're going to take our hat and put it on top now. This one's going to be a little tricky because we don't want to knock out those eyeballs yet. There. Squeeze it on really, really good. The eyebrows, you can see the eyebrows a little bit. Whoop. These eyes keep wanting to slip, so I can't really hold that up. They're kind of heavy because of the plastic and the pom-pom. We're fighting gravity here, so we're going to leave this alone for right now. It looks as if you could put some decorations on the top of that. I didn't decorate. I did a pattern on this one. This one I left alone. And then this is a witch I had made earlier that I started with. And she had a green leaf for her nose. And she had green eyes inside of white bottle caps from water bottles. And those are really great because lots of us drink water. I'm going to take one of these. I'll take both of these feathers out from her hat. And I'll just see if I have an opening here to slide them into this hat. It just adds a little color. If you like to make ghosts, ghosts would be good. Or if you want to make a moon and make some stars, or if you have star stickers. So this one's looking pretty good too. If you have any kind of Halloween stickers, they look really, really nice. She has kind of open space here where you could put some little pom-poms or maybe pink cotton balls. But what I have in my roaming around my house, I found these very interesting pom-poms, and they have silver tinsel inside of them. And I thought that would look really good. I did not see them in any other color. I don't even know what the occasion was that the fabric store had these. They usually have a reason when they bring in things. And again, here comes our special. We're going to use the Elmer's glue. I'll use this one this time. We're going to try the craft glue because this says extra strong. So I'm going to really rub a lot of this craft glue on there, and I'm going to stick it on her face right where her little chubby cheek would be. It's close to the same color as the paint, but different enough that you could see it. I really wish they had another color. Purple would have been great, but we work with what we have. I'm going to tip over this folded tip of my witch's hat here. So now we have our witch. She has a nose, eyes, eyebrows, mouth, little chubby cheeks, and lots of hair here. Well, I've shown you about as many kind as I could show you. The only thing I didn't do is use our purple, and that would be something that would be interesting later to see what would go well on the purple. It dried really nicely. I don't think you'd have to go over it again. Part of the fun of this project is hunting and looking for things that you might want to do. So my friends and I will say goodbye to you now and hope that you have an opportunity to try some of these. One last thing you might want to do that I think is a lot of fun. I traced my nephew's hands. They're very little. And we cut them out in different color papers of the oranges and the yellows and Halloween colors. And that's what we glued down on one of these triangles. We took and we started with the littlest, the biggest boy's hands and the middle and up. And that's kind of nice because anytime you personalize things and put your own handprint on it, it's nice. Or you could put mom's handprint down and then the little child's handprint on top and then put 2020 on there. I think that's what I'll do on here. I'll put 2020 on our witch's hat. And then I know that in 2020, I made this project. Have a very nice Halloween when time comes, and I hope you come back and join us in a couple weeks when we do our next holiday art project at the library. Bye now.